So our next topic is posterior palatal seal. So what is posterior palatal seal? It is defined as a soft tissue that is present along the junction of the hard palate and this soft palate. So remember, the posterior palatal seal, it is present on the junction of the hard palate and the soft palate, on which pressure is applied within the physiological limit by the denture that aids in the retention of the denture. So remember, the main purpose, the main function of the posterior palatal seal is to provide the retention of the denture. Now let us discuss the various functions of this posterior palatal seal. So number one is the stability, second prevention and retention, third compressibility, and fourth is the comfort. Moving to number one, stability. As we discussed, that the main function of PPS is to maintain contact with the anterior portion of the soft palate. So it maintains the contact with the anterior portion of the soft palate. So during the functional movements, like various functional movements like mastication, deglutition, or phonation, so there is the tissue undergo shallow displacement. So that is why the posterior palatal seal always creates a partial vacuum beneath the denture. So remember, it will create a partial vacuum beneath the denture. So the main function of the posterior palatal seal is that it provides the stability. Second comes the prevention and retention. So it reduces gag reflex. As there is no separation between the denture base and the soft tissue. So that is why it reduces the gag reflex. Third, compressibility. So it reduces the food accumulation beneath the posterior aspect of the denture. And last is the comfort. It reduces the patient discomfort contact that occurs between the dorsum of tongue and denture base. Now, what are the anatomic and physiological consideration? So the posterior palatal seal we divide into two anatomical boundaries. The one is the post palatal seal and second is the turgomaxillary seal. So what is post palatal seal? So this region is the post palatal seal. So it will what are its boundaries? It extends from one tuberosity to the other tuberosity. Whereas turgomaxillary seal, so this region is the turgomaxillary seal. It will extend through the turgomaxillary notch and continue up to 3 to 4 mm up to the mucogingival junction. So it occupies the entire width of the turgomaxillary seal. This one, the third, represents the anterior vibrating line, and this is the posterior vibrating line. So that gives a shape of a cupid bow. So remember it for your entrance exam point of view. The shape of posterior palatal seal is like a cupid bow. The next important structure is the hamular notch. So what is hamular notch? It is located between the maxillary tuberosity and the hemular process of the sphenoid bone. The important is hemular notch and other is hemular process. So do not get confused between these two. The denture should extend, the denture border should extend over the hemular notch and not over the hemular process. So this is the hemular notch. You can see is present between the maxillary tuberosity and hemular process of the sphenoid bone. So it contains loose connective tissue and the tendons of tensor velli palatini muscle. So it contains the tendon of tensor velli palatini muscle. So the position of this membrane changes with the mouth opening. Its position changes with the mouth opening, and therefore it should be recorded accurately during the impression making. So remember the posterior extent of the denture, it should extend over the hemular notch and not over the hemular process. If the denture border extends over the hemular process, that would cause a severe pain. So this next figure represents, this one is the hemular process. So if the denture border extend over the hemular process, that would cause a pain during the denture wearing. Next comes the fovea palatini. Fovea palatini, they are formed by coalescence of the mucus glands. So remember this fovea palatini, it acts as a arbitrary guide to locate the position, to locate the posterior border of the denture. So these two represents the fovea palatini, which are mucus glands. So the denture should extend 1 to 2 mm beyond the fovea palatini. So remember, in patient with thick and ropey saliva, the denture should not be, the fovea palatine should not be covered under the denture, as the thick ropey saliva would increase the hydrostatic pressure and it will cause the displacement of the denture. Now the question, the shape of cupid bow of posterior palatal seal, it is achieved due to, remember the shape of the cupid bow of posterior palatal seal, it is achieved due to the posterior nasal spine. So remember, this is the anterior vibrating line, this is the posterior vibrating line. In the mid region, it narrows down. Why? Due to the projection of this posterior nasal spine. So that is why it is generally cupid bow in shape. So remember this for your examination. Other thing that you have to remember for your exam point of view is the concept of the posterior palatal seal. It was given first by Lieberthal and Green. So you can get an MCQ asking the concept of posterior palatal seal was given by Lieberthal and Green. So what are the points you have to remember while recording the posterior palatal seal? So suppose if you are recording a posterior palatal seal, remember the posterior border of denture, it should not be placed over the mid-palatine raphe. It should not be placed on mid-palatal kind raphe, or the posterior nasal spine. So number one. Second, suppose there is a torus. So that extend posteriorly. Then the tori, this tori should be removed. Third, the position of the fovea palatini, that will also influence the denture. So the denture should extend 2 mm beyond the fovea palatini. And if patient with the thick and ropey saliva, remember the fovea palatinae, these fovea palatinae should be left uncovered, as that may cause the displacement of the denture. Now this question was asked in one of your NEET exam. The posterior palatal seal, it is recorded when the head is bent at. So remember, for your exam point of view, the posterior palatal seal, it is recorded when the head is bent at 30 degree. So because it is at this degree, the head is at maximum downward and forward position. So the head is at downward forward functional position. So according to Kelson, for recording the PPS, the position of head must be downward, so that the Frankfurt horizontal plane is 30 degree below the horizontal, and the tongue is firmly positioned against the mandibular anterior teeth. Also remember the flexion of head that attributes to moving excess impression material and saliva out of the mouth. So if you get a question, the flexion of head while recording PPS would attribute to remove excess material and saliva out of the mouth rather than progressing down the pharynx. So remember, this can be asked in one of your MCQ exam. Also, the patient is asked to periodically rotate the head so that all the functional position of soft palate are recorded. So this question was asked twice in your MCQ exam. Coming to the vibrating line. So it is an imaginary line that runs across the posterior part of the palate. So that marks the division between the movable and immovable tissue of the soft palate. So that can be identified when the movable tissue are moving. So it can be anterior vibrating line. So this one is the anterior vibrating line, and this is the posterior vibrating line. Now let us discuss them one by one. First is the anterior vibrating line. So anterior vibrating line, it is an imaginary line. So this one is an imaginary line at the junction between the immovable tissue over the hard palate and the slightly movable tissue of the soft palate. So how will you locate the anterior vibrating line? So in order to locate the anterior vibrating line, the patient is instructed to say ah with short, vigorous burst that will record the anterior vibrating line. So that is due to the projection of the posterior nasal spine. Posterior nasal spine. So remember this line, it is not a straight line. Whereas the posterior vibrating line, it is an imaginary line at the junction of aponeurosis of the tensor velli palatini muscle in the muscular portion of the soft palate. So it represents the demarcation between the part of soft palate that has limited or shallow movement during function. So how will you locate posterior vibrating line? So remember this posterior vibrating line, instruct the patient to say ah in a normal, unexaggerated fashion. So the posterior vibrating line marks the most distal extension of the denture base. So this point is very important and is asked repeatedly in exam. The anterior vibrating line can be recorded by asking patient to say ah in short vigorous burst, whereas posterior vibrating line can be marked by asking patient to say ah in normal, unexaggerated fashion. So this is what they usually ask in examination. Coming to the classification of the soft palate. So the classification of soft palate, they can be classified as class 1, class 2 or class 3. In class 1, that indicates the soft palate that is rather horizontal as extend posteriorly with minimum muscular activity. So remember the class 1 will have more retentive denture base. In class 2, the palatal contour lies between class 1 and class 3. The angulation here is 45 degree, whereas in the class 3, the angulation is 70 degree. In class 3, it is seen in conjugation with the V-shaped palatal wall. So there will be small PPS and there will be lesser retention. So remember for your exam, the class 3 soft palate, the angulation is 70 degree and will have smaller PPS area with lesser retention. So this figure, you can see class 3 soft palate that has an angulation of 70 degree. So there will be smaller PPS and lesser retention. So that is what you have to remember for your exam point of view. Coming to the ways to record posterior palatal seal. So there are three ways. Number one is the conventional approach. Second comes the fluid wax technique. And third comes the arbitrary scraping of the master cast. So first comes the conventional approach. It is done after the impression is made and when the master cast is poured. So trial base, we fabricate a trial base using a shellac base plate or a self-cure resin. The patient is asked to sit in upright position and is asked to rinse his mouth with some astringents. The posterior palatal area that is wiped with the gauze, and T burnisher is used to locate the hamular notch. So we use a T burnisher that is used to locate the hamular notch by palpating posteriorly to the maxillary tuberosity on the both sides. So a full extent of the hamular notch is marked with the pencil. The hamular notch, it is marked using a pencil. The posterior vibrating line is marked between the movable and the immovable soft palate using a pencil by asking the patient to say ah in non-vigorous manner. So the line that is marked in the hamular notch is connected with the posterior vibrating line. So this line is connected using pencil that will form the posterior border of the denture. So the trial base, it is inserted into the patient mouth so that the indelible markings are transferred to the trial base. Similarly, the anterior vibrating line, it is marked in the patient mouth using pencil. By recording the anterior vibrating line, the patient should perform the Valsalva maneuver. So the markings, they are transferred to the master cast. So the area between the anterior and the posterior vibrating line, it is scraped in the master card to depth of around 1 to 1.5 mm on the either side of the mid-palatine raphe. So in the region of mid-palatine raphe, it should be only 0.5 to 1 mm in the depth. So the entire border of this post-palatal seal, it will resemble like a shape of Cupid bow. So these markings of the anterior and posterior vibrating lines, they are transferred to the cast. So the advantages of this conventional technique, the trial base is more retentive, accurate. The patient will able to experience the retentive quality of the trial base. The new denture will be able to realize the posterior extent of the denture. Now, the disadvantages are it is not a physiological technique. So therefore depend upon the accurate transfer of these vibrating lines of the master cast. The next technique is fluid wax technique. So the fluid wax technique. So technique is done immediately after the marking with the wash impression and before pouring the master cast. So what are the suitable material used? So remember, zinc oxide eugenol and impression plaster. They are suitable for impression as the fluid wax will stick better to them. The anterior and posterior vibrating lines, they are marked as described in the conventional technique. So these lines are marked in the patient mouth immediately after making the wash impression. So these markings, they are transferred to the secondary or the wash impression by resetting the impression in the mouth. So the wash impression, it is then painted with the fluid wax. So what are the commonly used wax? So remember, for your exam, we use Iowa wax. Iowa wax, that is by Smith. Correcta wax by Applegate. Adapted green wax. Adapted green wax, that is by Nathan. And physiological paste by Hawkins. So these are the fluid wax that we use. So remember it for your MCQ based questions. So these wax should be painted only within the margins of the palatal seal marked on the impression. Usually it is applied in the excess and cooled below the mouth temperature so that it gains resistance to the flow. So these wax will soften at the mouth temperature. So they will flow intraorally during the impression making. The patient head should be positioned such that the Frankfurt horizontal plane, as discussed, is 30 degrees below the horizontal plane. So why we choose this position? Because it is only this position when the soft palate is at maximum downward and forward functional position. So the flexion of the head, that will help to prevent the aspiration of impression material and the saliva. The patient tongue should be at the level of the mandibular anterior. So that will help to pull the palatoglossus muscle anteriorly. So the patient here is asked to make the rotational movement to record the functional movement of the palate. So the impression is removed after 4 to 6 minutes. So remember, the glossy area will show tissue contact and the dull area will show that the area that were not in contact with the tissue. So areas that are dull are added with more wax and the procedure is repeated. So every time the impression is reinserted, the impression should be held for 3 to 5 minutes under gentle pressure, and 2 to 3 minutes firm pressure should be applied in the mid-palatine area. So the wax in the region of the anterior vibrating line should be having a knife edge margin, whereas the blunt edge margin, they indicates improper flow and the impression repeated. So the fluid wax extended beyond the posterior vibrating line, they should be cut with the hot knife. So the impression is redefined till the feather edge margins, they are produced. So the Advantages of this fluid wax technique, it is more physiological. Chances of overcompression of tissue are less, increased retention of trial base, whereas the disadvantages are the handling of material is very difficult, increased chairside time during the patient appointment. The last technique is the arbitrary scraping of the master cast. So in this technique, the anterior and posterior vibrating line, they are visualized by examining the patient mouth. So we scrape generally 0.5 to 1 mm of the stone in the posterior palatal seal area of the master cast and fabricate the denture. This technique is inaccurate and not physiological, so it should be generally avoided. So these were the technique to measure the posterior palatal seal. So this was all about the posterior palatal seal.